Hello! Welcome back to Boxes and Bubbles, where today we're going to be looking at Small World number 1 and 2, published by Magnetic Press. Written by Jean David Morvan, with art by Toru Terada. This one has a story that's still unfolding, with a few elements that are either real, drug-induced hallucinations, some kind of altered reality, or a strange mixture of both. The gist is that in a strange, semi-retrofitted future, there's a clear divide between rich and poor. As we can see here, the divide is physical and literal, as well as metaphorical. Kumiko's father is some kind of diplomatic ambassador, and so she's from a well-to-do family. In this world, children wear devices called dreamweavers. Ooh, dreamweaver! When they go to sleep. It seems like their function is to ensure pleasant dreams, which parents are in control of. Kumiko is a bit of a rebel though, and she buys some illicit software to use in her dreamweaver, which will allow her to visit a place called Small World, as if it was some kind of VR experience. Kumiko is one of 5 children, and she goes home with her siblings and their nanny robot named Nan1. I think there's a pun here, but I can't quite puzzle it out. Nani, or Nan, is the Japanese word for what, and the number 1 is Ichi. So I can't tell if the robot is named Nanichi, which sounds like the Japanese Nannichi, which would mean what day, or if the pun is visual, because written down Nan1 looks a bit like Nani. Again, Japanese for what, but English for nanny, like someone who looks after the kids. The number 2 in Japanese, though, is ni, so nan2 would make more sense to me, since in Japanese it sounds like nanni, or what, and in English, nanny. But maybe I'm missing something or jumping the gun, and a nan2 is going to be introduced later. Anyway, we're getting into the weeds here, aren't we? As they pass the poorer part of the town, Nan1 scolds Kumiko, telling her that she shouldn't even look at it. We can, though, and here's one of the major mysteries of the plot thus far. Pietro and his group of friends are being hunted down by a group of people who appear to be substantially older men who are both armed and have motorcycles. During the chase, Pietro stops to retrieve a plastic bag, a bizarre thing to do given the circumstances. The gangsters take Pietro and want to make an example of him for fixing it so El Cocodrilo could take their leader's arm. As of issue 2, we still have no idea exactly what Pietro did, who exactly Cocodrilo is, and why he would want this guy's arm in the first place. But like I said before, this one's unfolding and handing us little pieces of information as it goes. Back at home, Kumiko loads the new software into her Dreamweaver, but her mom catches her and decides to check that everything's okay. Luckily for Kumiko, the program looks innocent enough, and mom doesn't look too much into it. But in the snippet that she does see, a young man introduces himself as Pietro. Back with the real Pietro, he manages to escape his captors by taking one by surprise at just the right moment, and manages to scale the wall to the richer part of town. Kumiko's father arrives home, and unbeknownst to his driver, Pietro has hitched a ride to their house on the underside of the car. Once it's parked in the garage, he drops out and frees his bound hands. Cutting the tie causes his wrists to bleed, but Pietro doesn't even seem to notice the pain. In fact, he's taken a lot of punishment up to this point, which has me wondering if there's something going on with his body. He checks on his treasured plastic bag before shooting himself up with some mysterious orange fluid. Is that what's enhancing his body, or is he just a junkie? We still don't know. While he's passed out in the garage, Kumiko visits Small World using her Dreamweaver, and after inputting a password, the cute version of Pietro which her mother saw is replaced by the real Pietro, the one who is in her garage right now. And right at this moment, Pietro, now under the effects of the strange drug, wakes up to a pink fairy talking to him, one who appears to be the same as the picture on his plastic bag. So here's another thread of mystery. Is she real? Is she a hallucination? Or is the orange fluid somehow providing some kind of augmented reality for Pietro? Whatever it is, he sneaks into the house and is caught by Kumiko, who's pleasantly surprised to see him. Nan1 isn't quite so pleased though, and chases him, causing him to jump out of the window and hide in a storm drain, leaving his precious plastic bag behind him. At this point, the similarities to Peter Pan really hit me. This boy's name is Pietro. He's from a different world, and he has a friend who's a fairy. Pietro's nemesis is a man whose arm was taken by El Cocodrilo, Spanish for the crocodile, and he snuck into a young girl's room while her family was sleeping. In the Dreamweaver software, he's teaching Kumiko how to fly. We've even got Kumiko's brothers and a non-human nanny. And while he was running away to hide, Pietro calls out to his mother. So perhaps the whole story is going to be a twist of or a retelling of the Peter Pan story. The next morning, Pietro wakes up in the drain, and right away, he shoots up his orange gunk again. Interestingly, now that he no longer has his bag, his fairy is no longer with him either. Kumiko's parents increase security on the house, and we catch up with Pietro's rival, who we find out is named Gancho. Since Cocodrilo was Spanish for crocodile, I decided to check out the word gancho, and guess what it means? It starts with an H, and it sounds like book. On top of that, Gancho lives on, yep, a big old ship. El Cocodrilo shows up and taunts him, and while he dresses like a cop and threatens Gancho with the electric chair, I can't imagine what kind of cop takes a criminal's arm or makes a deal with a drug-abusing child, so we'll have to wait and see exactly what his deal is. Later that evening, Kumiko's parents attend some kind of diplomatic dinner, leaving the kids at home with Nan 1. When Pietro shows up in true Peter Pan style by tapping on the window, Nan 1 attempts to intervene before Kumiko shuts her off. She speaks with Pietro and asks him to take her to Small World for real. Piedro's fairy argues with him about it, and it turns out that nobody else is able to see her. When the others point this out, Pietro says, well, if you really want to see her, and produces another syringe of the orange stuff, which I guess at this point is analogous to fairy dust. Issue 2 ends here, but it seems as if Pietro is going to take the kids into Small World, much in the way that Peter Pan does to Wendy and her brothers. So maybe the whole point here is to retell the story of Peter Pan. Only Never Never Land is a poverty-stricken part of town, and the fantastical elements are replaced with harsh realities, like substance abuse and gangs. But what I really wanted to make a video on this for is the amazing art and coloring from Toru Terada. If you've never read Japanese comics, or manga, manga, not manga. I've never understood where that strange pronunciation comes from. It's almost always in black and white, with cover art in color, and sometimes a special bonus colored page inside. So a fully colored comic in a Japanese style is pretty uncommon. But more unusual is the overall style of the art itself. This is not a run-of-the-mill manga style by any means, with lots of extreme angles, oddly shaped and patterned eyes, and a lot of curved shapes in the environments. The world seems to be both futuristic and retrofitted, especially in the opening pages on Kumiko's father's plane. I particularly like these aerial shots of the city, each half emanating out from a circular center. Character designs are very unusual, and all distinct from each other too. We've got the overly cutesified Kumiko, who reminds me of a Blythe doll mashed together with Battle Angel Alita, her father, who has a very angular face, and her mother with her soft rounded face. We've got Pietro with his much rougher look and those extreme sharp looking eyes, though his face softens sometimes and his mouth becomes similar to Kumiko's, and the mischievous, flighty and slightly naughty Chin-Tam the fairy, whose attitude and flirtatiousness feel like a perfect fit for a Tinkerbell. The colours are all kind of muted and subtle without feeling washed out. It's a pretty jarring style, and definitely not conventionally cute, and I think intentionally unique in its strangeness. It feels like artwork from a late 90s video game manual, graffiti or album artwork. Pietro is definitely my favourite character design. There are lots of instances of him just looking cool with some kind of tough expression on his face. It's so unusual and so cool that I wanted to spread some love for this one. It's getting a nice collected hardcover edition in October too, so I'm definitely going to pick that one up. It's available for pre-order already for around $30. So, a bit of a strange story with things still unraveling as we go. I'm intrigued to see how this one turns out. But until then, if you're interested in any other books that came out recently, make sure to check out the rest of the channel for some other spoiler-free reviews, and follow along at Bubbles on Twitter to hear about some other books I didn't have time to make videos for. That's all for this time, but I'll catch you again later. Bye!